Okay, we are live and we're waiting for Julia to show up, but our topic today is the new Made for Kids category. And I'm gonna now, I've now silenced it, but I'm still watching it to make sure that we're not talking about Lebanon. So I'm going to edit this video and change the description. We're not talking about Lebanon. Talking about okay, so we are talking about COPPA or COPPA and the Made for TV, I mean Made for Kids category. Okay, Julia is delayed at the moment, but as you know, there's a new category that every time we upload a video here on YouTube, we're supposed to say made for kids or not made for kids. This is something that has been demanded by the Federal Trade Commission under a law that goes by the acronym of COPPA. So what we're talking about is the requirement that videos be labeled made for kids or not. I hope that Julia can join us very soon. And I'm telling her that right now. Okay, so let me see where we are. As you know, I write books, and some of the books are for adults. Hi, Julia, you're here.
Hi, this is like the best I can do because I'm having some problems with the computer. It decided to update and now the computer is on. But anyway, I'll just let you keep talking.
Okay, well, I was just going to tell people that sometimes I write books for adults that are very clearly for adults, and other times I write books that at least some people might construe as being books for children. Although other people have said, even about a book like Ping and Snarkily People, that actually that's not a very good book for children. It's probably for adults. It's better read by adults. So I don't know whether it's a book for children or not. And this is part of.
I thought, okay, I liked Ping and the Snarkily People. I kind of took that as somebody's opinion because I think they didn't like. I didn't think Ping and the Snarkily People was overly political, but let me put it this way. I think some liberals, they say they're very open-minded, but some liberals aren't as open-minded as they claim to be. And I think they don't like it when people are actually expressing their opinion sometimes. But I thought Ping could be for kids that maybe are more advanced second language.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. The question is, under 13 or over 13 or 13 and above. So if you're 13 and above, one of the weird things that YouTube does, it labels you not a child anymore. And this was kind of strange to me when I was trying to monitor Bo's viewing, because I never put any restrictions on Sword. If she wanted to view something, she could. I trusted her.
Yeah.
But Bo is a chimpanzee, okay? And he gets very excited and he breaks things if he gets too excited by something. So because I didn't want him to get overstimulated, overexcited, at one point when he had his own, not iPad, but one of those tablet type
Yeah,
things.
I remember.
And I bought him a cheap one, and he broke it. But anyway, before he broke it, he was, I opened an account for him and I was trying to use the parental restriction so that I could oversee what Bo was looking at, even if I wasn't in the pen with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was honest, I wrote down when he was born. He was born in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
They told me I couldn't restrict his viewing.
Oh my gosh. That's funny.
Because he's not under 13, he has to be under 13. So I went back and I lied to them. And I told him that he was born at a different date so that he would be under 13 so I could use this parental restriction stuff. Now, let me tell you, then I allowed him to watch YouTube for Kids. You know what? I don't care that there was no overt sexual stuff or they didn't use 4-letter words. It wasn't really appropriate for him because it was too stimulating. They were getting excited. They were getting angry. They were getting sad. There was a lot of emotion in those, and that was bad for him because he would get very upset. So all in all, the whole idea that we can shelter children on YouTube is, to me, it seems ridiculous, because even when I was trying to shelter a chimpanzee from things that might be upsetting to him, that didn't work. Okay. But now, and this obviously everybody else is going to say, well, you have a unique problem. Nobody else has a chimp who needs to be restricted in his viewing. Okay, maybe.
I don't like restrictions, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not somebody who, as a kid, my parents didn't really restrict what I watched, but I didn't seek out to watch violent things. But sometimes maybe I watched a movie that, I don't know, had a romantic scene. But I don't think my parents cared if I watched that, because it's not like I would watch the movie for that. It was just a movie. I just don't see how restricting what the kids are watching is going to protect them.
Well, if somebody restricts it, it should be the parent, not Big Brother.
Yeah.
Not, so yeah, every parent can decide for himself what he wants to restrict. But for them,
yeah, sure.
But for
we
them,
have the government coming in, and this ruling, it's not because YouTube wants it, it's because they're having it pushed on them, essentially, correct?
Yes. And by the way, why don't you go ahead and continue talking about your experiences? I didn't get a chance to try to share this on Twitter.
Okay.
I did change the description. You might check and see if I did that correctly. And if
I can do that. So yeah, I'll keep talking. So all I was gonna say was, I'm not really big. I don't know a lot about COPPA, but I know YouTube got in a little bit of a trouble because legally, there's some unsavory characters on YouTube, but rather than maybe take care of those characters and what they were doing, if we have a reporting system on YouTube. I'm not saying report people willy-nilly, but if somebody's going to videos with kids and they are a predator of some kind, then you should be banning those people. Yeah, but there was this problem where there were all these videos for kids, and I guess a whole bunch of online predator groups, and they were coming on and they were commenting. But then again, at the end of the day, it's also the parent's problem, because if the parent puts out videos like that, or they allow a child under the age of 13 to post videos like that, and they're not restricting who's commenting on the videos, why is everybody else in the YouTube community being punished because the parent didn't take the oversight to monitor what was being posted to the accounts, and YouTube didn't take the oversight to block people who may have been making inappropriate comments. I just think that's ridiculous. It's kind of like similar to the whole ISIS beheading videos that were just willy-nilly on YouTube, and YouTube was doing nothing to get rid of those videos. They were there for a couple of years. And finally, the advertisers, I guess, realized that their ads were running on videos like that. And all of a sudden, they all got mad. But why is it that YouTube didn't have some sort of way of knowing these things all along? I'm sure somebody told them. I think they just didn't care until one day some people complained. And then all of a sudden, there's these new laws, and they have to, but we're all being punished because of a few bad players, essentially. That's my opinion about the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree with you, but there's also a thing about where we're being placed as YouTube creators, and we're between a rock and a hard place. So on the one hand, we've always been told, don't make your information unsavory. Don't make
exactly.
videos the sort of thing that a child couldn't watch. So basically they say, we want family-friendly content. That means adults can watch it, children can watch it, dogs can watch it, cats can watch it, chimps can watch it, and everybody will be fine because there's nothing bad going on, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we do this. And now we're being asked to say, oh, but it's not made for kids. How should I know whether it's for kids or not? That's for the parents and the kids to decide for themselves whether they think it's appropriate or not appropriate for them to watch.
It should be, Aya, but now we live in this world where, we want the government to do everything for us. Like, they need to monitor us because other people can't figure out their own family lives. And I don't understand, like, do we really want to do that? Like, I know, look, I don't want to make this all political, but the liberals that are like, oh my gosh, like, we need to, like, restrict these things. We need to do this. Do they realize how many civil liberties we're ceding away? And they're so worried about, like they think, like, the capitalists are bad and all this. But I would think, do you really want the government to come in and say, well, we're going to restrict everybody and take your liberties away and make it impossible to earn a living? I think it's very political, and I don't like it. And this is why I'm not a Democrat. I keep saying that all the time, but it's things like this, like it's a political agenda. I feel like it's being imposed upon us in a way by people who think that they're going to make society better by passing more rules and regulations. But then again, I have content that is not for kids. My channel, my second channel, it's not for children. I never made it for kids, but I get in trouble sometimes because I'm outside and I'm standing next to roses, and it was lascivious, apparently. Like, it was.
Well, yeah. Well, we had this problem with pears on my channel. You know, my main channel, I don't consider it in any way inappropriate for a family to watch. But we do have grooming videos in which Bo is grooming my face. But in one of my grooming videos, I also showed some pear trees outside, and the pears were growing on the trees. That they could not stand. That was considered not appropriate.
I don't even know. I don't know what to say, but this is the thing I don't get is I feel like with YouTube, if you want to have content that's not made for kids, it's for like maybe people over 18, but it's not like adult, I think you should have the right to do that, because I do want to have a channel where it's not for kids. Okay. But it's not like that it's lascivious content either. It's just not for children. And I feel like YouTube doesn't like that, but now they're saying you have to mark that it's not for kids. So with one of my channels, I'm very confused because I feel like I'm being really judged. And there's lots of other people, like big YouTubers, like Jenna Marbles. Do you think her videos are for kids? Like the ones where she says things like sexy entertainment? Like, is that for children, really?
I have no idea. You know, again, I would not restrict my daughter. I did not restrict my daughter. So when I was not watching and not aware that there was such a thing as Jenna Marble, my daughter was watching Jenna Marble. I'm not shocked by that, though.
Oh,
it's
not
okay.
either. But yeah. I think teenagers might watch that, but it wasn't for like 4-year-olds. Like, I think a parent should be able to figure out if they're upset that somebody's watching that, then don't have the kid watch it. The parents should be figuring that out, not YouTube.
Well,
saying,
yeah, That's why I mentioned the thing that happened to me with Bo. Here's my point. I think that parents should have every right to restrict the viewing of their children should they wish to do this. But then the parent should have the control. YouTube were telling me, oh, your child, Bo Katz, is over 13, so we're not going to allow you to restrict. We're not going to allow you to electronically monitor what he's watching. Okay. And let's say that Bo wasn't a chimp. Let's say he was a human being, and let's say he was maybe emotionally disabled. And some of those videos are triggering to somebody who takes, who gets overly emotional about some things.
Yeah.
Other people's emotions, not anything sexual. So it's very hard, other than just to take it away from him, to restrict him. And when it's a chimp or a child over 13 who maybe is stronger than the parent, because the child might be adult size, but not have an adult mind. They're telling me specifically that I have to lie to them about him being under 13 in order for me to be able to monitor what he watches. But on the other hand, they're not holding the parents accountable as to whether their children are watching a made for children or not made for children a video. In other words, if something is really inappropriate for your child, and it varies by children, it varies by people.
Of course.
It's an individual thing. Then you should not allow your child to watch that channel. As it happens, all of our subscribers have to be over 13, before they can have that YouTube account. I believe that they, and have.
Yeah, they have to be over 13. So I feel like it already was that way. Like, what is the point of this change anyway, then, really?
Okay, so let me tell you what I think it's about. It's about them saying, number one, we don't believe that parents are responsible enough to monitor their children's viewing. We do not believe that parents should get to decide whether something is for children or not for their children. We want to decide from a centralized location what children will watch and what children will not watch. And we're going to assume that somehow data is being gathered about children when they use their adult parents' accounts to watch a YouTube video.
It's so ridiculous, really.
I think so. I think it doesn't make any sense, but then it kind of takes me back to when I was at the Libertarian Convention in 2016, and I was a supporter of I supported Austin Peterson, but there was one moment when Austin Peterson was asked a question and other people booed him, and I was quiet, but I wasn't with the side that said, well, of course he's right. I was like, oh, so the question he was asked is, should 5-year-olds be allowed to buy heroin, to purchase heroin legally? And he said, of course not. Now, here's my take on this. It's almost like asking, should 5-year-olds be allowed to buy cigarettes? And here's
exactly.
My answer is, back in the day, children knew that they weren't allowed to smoke cigarettes because their parents told them so. But sometimes a parent would give a child $5 or $2 or I don't know how much, a certain amount of money, and send them to the store, get eggs, get bread, get some cigarettes, and the child would take the list and the money, go to the store, bring back those things, and if he had smoked any of those cigarettes on the way back, or if he had drunk liquor on the way back, the parent would know it and he would be in trouble, so he wouldn't do it.
Exactly. But I don't know. It's like now people don't want to take care of their own children. Like, you need to be responsible for your own children. If you're going to have children, I feel like, okay, this is your responsibility. It's not the government's responsibility to figure these things out. Like, I don't get it. Like, if you're not responsible to have children, I'm not telling you don't have children, but maybe you should think about not having children. Like if you don't want to
Yeah,
take
but it's not the parents who are doing this. I don't think the parents wanted there to be a law like that. But
no, yeah.
yeah,
Well, some might. There are some parents though. Like, okay, I used to be such a big Democrat. I know I say this all the time. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but there's this kind of parent. Oh, I feel like people doing this, it's hurting kids. Like it might not be their kids personally, but they see other kids on the internet and they don't like that some weirdos came and commented on this video. So they feel that there should be a law and that we need to pass more laws instead of maybe just banning the people who did those things, like on a family video. Like, and also too, did you know that this changed? Like, remember I was telling you about that one YouTuber that was kind of gloating, like, oh, the family vloggers are going to lose out on their income now. Well, guess who's going to lose a lot of income with this change? Because even if they label their content as not for kids, YouTube's going to come in and say their content's for kids because there's a lot of kids in those videos and they're not going to be able to make money anymore.
yeah. You shared with me a video of a family. They call themselves micro family or something.
The micro family, yeah.
Yeah, and I listened to it, and I have sympathy for them, but at the same time, they didn't sound like they had sympathy for people who were actually making money.
No, they had no sympathy. I was just sharing that as one person's perspective. I'm not saying like I agree with everything they said. I feel like, it's easy for them to say that though, because did you hear what the dad said? I'm tired because I got home from work. So obviously he has a steady
job. Yeah,
yeah.
He has a
so
job.
It's really easy for him to judge. It's very easy to preach. Like, I hate to say it. It's this whole liberal thing again, where you're in a situation where, oh, you have enough income or family or stability where you can judge people that make money on YouTube or judge people that have a small business. And maybe you shouldn't, because some people, they need to survive. And I feel like it's kind of, there were probably people that were making income off this that are going to be hurt, but the people who want these laws passed, they don't care about those people because they don't care about, they say they really care about people, but they don't, because these changes are just going to hurt people. They're not going to help people,
Yeah, I mean, it's to stifle the market, and I wouldn't be surprised if it wouldn't be, large corporations such as Disney. I don't know if you know this, but Disney has been handing out free memberships to their new channel recently. I think maybe this is not a coincidence. So anybody who signs up can watch Disney for free right now. And Disney is definitely a channel that says that it's for kids. I mean, that's how they build themselves.
Yeah, so they feel like anything on YouTube is kind of like infringing on, like they view that as competition. So maybe another angle is they want to kind of stymie anybody from making money on YouTube producing any kind of content for kids because they want to control that market. That's kind of what it sounds like to me a little bit.
It seems like it to me, and especially the timing. I don't know if you saw this, but they just recently started pushing free memberships, where you sign up and it's free, but then you end up paying because later you forgot to unsign up for it.
That actually kind of happened to me too. Like, okay, I need to cancel this online cable viewing. And I told them I don't watch cable, I watch YouTube. But I'm usually so strong at saying no when these people call. But then I was just so tired. I was like, okay, but I don't watch any of those TV shows. And now I have to cancel that because it was like a free trial and I got sucked in.
So there's a free trial going around. They are definitely pushing it. I've heard from more than one person that they signed up for it. They're really excited about it because they get to watch Disney for free. And at the same time, they're telling us that if we have any made for the kids content right now, that we won't get to use endnotes or cards or community tab or have any comments or even thumbs up and thumbs down on our channel if we make anything for kids. So who is this really going after? It's not, criminals, is it?
No, it's not going after criminals. I think it's another thing where It's some corporations like Disney in the kids arena who want to make all the money. This is similar to Google Panda, where, oh, the small citizen journalist writes a better article than Glamour magazine or Cosmopolitan, and we just can't have that. So Google Panda, who do they penalize? They penalize small writing sites. And now when you search for something like anything, the main things that come up for me are like the Daily Mail or Glamour, and it'll just be these like articles that aren't that well written. And then blogs will be farther down, I've noticed, since the Google Panda. I don't think that's a better change. It just seems like those changes help those corporations that saw the citizen journalists as infringing upon their, it's crony capitalism, really, right?
That's exactly what it is. It's crony capitalism. And I've had people, academicians who told me, listen, your writing is very good. You should be in a well-recognized blog, but you shouldn't be writing for hub pages because some of the people writing for hub pages are writing trash. Well, I didn't care. As long as I could get my viewers, I didn't care if the trashy writers got their viewers.
Yeah.
By me.
It was your page. I see, I didn't even care. Like back then when I was writing things on hub pages, I was just doing it as a hobby. It was a fun way to make money. I really didn't care like some of the things other people were writing. I think I wasted some time in the forum, but now that I look back, I probably just wouldn't have commented on the forum at all because like it's not really necessary. You don't really have to even interact with anybody. You're just there to write. I don't think it matters that there's other people on the site writing about things you might not like.
Mm-hmm.
Am I still there? Hold on.
I see something. It says iPhone. I don't know why.
The reason it says iPhone is because my computer froze and it decided to do the update. So in order to get on, I had to use the iPhone this morning.
Oh, okay. I thought it was censoring me because it just occurred to me that maybe I should also share this on my community tab on my other account. So I'm going to do that. But you keep talking.
Yeah, I'll keep talking. So anyway, I'll share the funny story about the computer. Like every single time, I don't know why, the computer decides we're going to start doing an update when it's time to do something important. I don't time these things, I swear. But it's just like, oh, I'm going to update myself like right now. So I did get the computer to turn back on so I can monitor what people are talking about or like commenting on the live stream. And I shared it on Facebook. But yeah, that's why I couldn't get on it first. So anyway, I did want to also share, if you think that you can't live stream with us, you can because of the iPhone. I have a cheapy iPhone. And as you can see, I think that the cam is better on my iPhone than that expensive webcam I bought last year, which is breaking down already. Because the lighting's a little bit better on this. What do you think?
I think so. I think you look very nice. I like your dress.
Oh, yeah, thank you. It's this top I haven't worn for a while.
Oh, it's a top. Okay.
But it is kind of like a dress. It looks like a dress because it's a top and a skirt. But what was I going to say? These changes are never better. Like every time they roll out one of these changes, it's always something, it feels kind of draconian. It's just like it, and like the announcer, like the lady who was announcing it, she wasn't very friendly. She didn't feel approachable. It just makes you feel like you're being scolded. That's what I felt like when I was watching that video.
Yes, there was something about her. She wasn't one of those fun, oh, let's create together kind of women. She looked like a social worker. Do you think she is a social worker or an attorney?
She's either an attorney or a social worker. And I feel like they placed her in that video because they want you to like feel like serious about this. And they want to make sure that you take action because they usually want it to be fun and inviting, but not her. She didn't feel that way. I mean, that wasn't the vibe I got from that video anyway.
No, and she was saying, and we can't tell you, we absolutely can't tell you whether your video is made for kids. You have to guess whether it's made for kids, and then if we decide it's not, we're going to penalize you.
Yeah, and of course, yeah, they use that verbiage because they don't want to be held liable. They don't want to be held liable for anything. But then years ago, how on earth did YouTube not know that ISIS videos were being shown with ads? Like, really? Are you kidding me? YouTube, you were that naive? Or did you just not care because you got 1 million views on some horrendous video that you didn't want to take down? Sorry, I shouldn't judge, but you should have monitored your content better. That's why these people started complaining. But then again, at the end of the day, why is it that everybody that complains gets to have a say? Why can't we just have like a community where people post what they want to their own channels, and there might be some horrendous things, but maybe they just don't get ad revenue? Can't we just say
Right.
that those, I
Yeah,
don't know.
why not have the people who post something terrible be held responsible for the terrible thing? I mean, if they're murdering people online, murder is still illegal. So you can do something about that.
Yeah, of course. You could, I mean, I definitely think if there's a video like that being posted, just don't allow it to be posted, because obviously the people who posted it were the people who did that. I mean, they did something horrendous, like just delete their video. You knew it was there. How could you not know it's there? I mean, is YouTube that naive? They don't know what's on their own website? Although maybe they don't, because back in 2007, I came across a lot of videos that were really, really disturbing. And I don't usually report things, but I did that day. And I got a representative from YouTube that thanked me for reporting all the horrible content on their channel. It was pretty bad stuff. And I don't usually report things, but it was just a series of videos that popped up, and it was very adult oriented. Let's just put it that way. But they didn't know. They told me that was there.
Okay, well, I mean, here's the thing. This is the other side of that. This is the other side. It's like, okay, as far as I'm concerned, if they do want to have porn channels on YouTube, that is fine. People can just, if they were just labeled, people would know I don't want to watch this, or I do want to watch this, and have it up to them. And also, with regard to the ads, they could not run ads on it, or they could do whatever. But
yeah, just leave it, like make it to where you have to agree to it or not agree to it, and it's that easy. And I think, like, yeah, I feel, and I also feel like there should be some sort of middle ground. Like, can there just be a type of channel where it doesn't appeal to kids, but it's maybe just more for adults, but it's nothing like extremely provocative? Is like, can there be some middle ground at all?
well, here's the thing. We don't always know what is going to appeal to kids or not. So for instance, when I was a little girl, when I was 10 years old, and that's under 13, I would come home from school, and it was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And just as I was coming home from school, Dark Shadows would come on, and it was billed as a gothic soap opera. It was originally intended to appeal to housewives, because it was kind of campy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's who they thought their audience was. And in fact, all the ads were soap ads, like in the soap opera, right?
Oh, those guys. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
like Ivory soap, that kind of thing. Obviously, little kids don't buy Ivory soap, or they don't buy dishwashing liquid, or they don't worry about ring around the collar, okay? But those were the ads. And it turned out that I wasn't the only child, but there was all over the country, children were watching that show, not women, not housewives, but children, girls and boys found it very exciting. Okay, so what? And eventually got canceled. But maybe it was canceled because it wasn't getting, the ad revenue wasn't going to the right place. They didn't have the demographic that they thought they were going to have in terms of viewership. And nobody cared that kids were watching this vampire stuff. It just didn't matter.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
And I think this about books too. Well, I thought at the time when I wrote Ping and the Snorkelly People, there would be a good books for both kids and adults. I never write anything that I think is only good for kids, or and when I do write adult content, I never think, well, gee, what if a 12-year-old read it? Would it be terrible?
I
I
think
think
it'd be
it's
fun.
okay.
I read Dances with Wolves when I was 12, and there were some topics in there that, I don't know, some people would object to. It's fine. Like, it can be for a range of people. Like,
Yeah,
it's not.
so why should we even know who it's made for? When you're thinking about it, I guess in a way I'm kind of thinking about myself. Will I like it or will I not like it? That's the first thing that I think about. And I don't think of myself as being a certain age. I think of myself, throughout my lifetime.
Mhm.
So I don't really have children in mind usually, even when I'm writing a kids thing, except if it's about kids.
Yeah, totally. The only reason I mentioned that is because I know, like, with my second channel, it's like about hair, long hair, and I don't think that appeals to children. I know it's like an older demographic because I look at my analytics and it's usually people under 18. My target audience seems to be 18 to 26 actually, and after that, like, it's the 26 to 35-year-olds. Those seem to be the people that watch that channel. That's just why I'm saying that particular sense based on the statistics. I don't
Yeah, based on the statistics, but it could be different. Actually, many little girls want to have beautiful long hair. They do. And if you are giving advice about how to detangle your hair, I mean, I know it's not geared to that, but if some girl wanted to watch it because she wanted to know how to grow long hair and detangle it, would there be any harm in that?
I don't think so, but I kind of feel like, because, okay, there's certain people that come to my channel and they say nice things, and that doesn't bother me, by the way, but there's this other people that have long hair channels, and I guess, okay, they get upset like when men make certain kind of comments and they think it's inappropriate and they feel like I should feel that way too, but it didn't bother me how the people in the comments on my channel felt. They weren't saying anything bad or lascivious, but just because they seemed a little too complimentary. She didn't like that because on her own channel, she doesn't really like it when men make comments a certain way that way. But I don't really care. And that was what people were watching. And honestly, like, those videos are kind of fun to make, like brushing my hair or doing hair video, as opposed to like a video that I highly edit, like where I drew that cat at Joshua Tree. I only
Yeah.
had like 300 views on that cat video in a year and a half. Ever.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I have my drawing videos. I don't know who watches those. Not that many people do, but I'll have to go back and see who they are. A lot of times kids do want to learn how to draw, so they will watch a grown-up drawing. Uh, how, it wasn't intended for kids, but now that I think about it, some of them have labels like how to draw a chimpanzee, because one of my subjects is Bo. And some people may not know how to draw a chimpanzee, might want to find out. Some of those people will be adults, some will be children. It's it's not based on their age, really.
No, definitely not. Things shouldn't have to be that way. I just feel like, well, now YouTube's saying you have to do this because of the legality side of it. So I guess we're kind of stuck in a way.
Well, I've labeled all my channels not for children, but I don't know whether that's going to stand up, considering that I do have some books that I've written that are for children. But even there, some of my adult books, certain reviewers have said they were for children, which they're definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my children's books, certain reviewers have said, oh, that's not for children. So you can't win for losing.
I guess you can't, and maybe it's okay to have some people kind of bickering about it because it's publicity. Like I told you, there's this one YouTuber, like she just shares her opinion. I don't know who she's hurting. Okay. Basically, her opinion is it's not something I'm looking for in life, but she decided that her journey and her life's purpose was to level up and marry a rich man. And she doesn't like average Joes, but some people are very offended by her content because she called men that don't make a lot of money average Joes. And she makes videos telling women how they can meet an affluent man and dress more classy. So all these people came to her videos or on news programs that she was on in London. They were offended by her opinion, but she's actually very polite and she gives some good etiquette advice, like you shouldn't say offensive things to people. And I watched one of her videos and I thought it was good advice. Like you shouldn't ask people how old they are and why you haven't had kids yet. It was just like good etiquette advice, and that was it. But people were choosing to be offended by her videos just because she caters to a demographic that wants to marry more affluent men. And I'm thinking, why do people care? How does that offend someone?
Well, I mean, they can be offended if they want to, but it's her business, it's her right to talk about whatever she wants to. That's kind of an amusing idea.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, though, it was funny, though, because of all that backlash, she ended up getting more publicity, and now she has almost, she has a lot of subscribers really quick because some people got really offended. So maybe if people get upset about a book, maybe it's to your favor because maybe more people will discover your book that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not necessarily that they're even upset about the book. It is their opinion, their considered opinion that my children's book is not for kids or that my adult book is for kids.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense to me, but, I'm not going to argue with it.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. Everybody can have their own opinion about a book, about a movie, about a show. Essentially, it's just an opinion, really.
Yeah, so for instance, let's think about the movie you and I are going to watch and then review, the one about Mr.
Mr. Rogers.
Rogers. Yeah. Do you think it's for kids or not for kids?
I think it's probably for people that watch Mr. Rogers as a kid, but not necessarily for a kid. But there might be kids who find it interesting because they're like, oh, who's Mr. Rogers? And I don't know, maybe they'll start replaying him on Netflix, because I didn't know this, but I guess a few years ago, they started replaying Bob Ross on Netflix, which was a revelation to me. And that's how he became so popular. Although I never loved Bob Ross's painting, because the thing with him, yeah, I know he paints some pretty, but I just felt like he goes so fast and
Well, I'll tell you, that's not my problem with it. Actually, I've been enjoying doing those fast sketches and sharing them. But I'll tell you what I find weird about all of this, including Bob Ross. Bob Ross pretended that he was showing us how to paint. And that if you watch his show, if you religiously watch his show and maybe you have your easel right in front of the TV set and you have your paints, you could be painting along with him, and he shows you basically how to make a tree and how to make a cloud and all of that. But and there are people who still do that kind of thing. They give classes where they're basically having their students copy every move they make.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that's how you learn to paint or to draw. You don't just learn by copying.
No, definitely not. And then you don't have an original composition afterwards. And there's nothing wrong with painting or drawing fast. I know most people do that, but I hate it because I just was always told you have to do it fast, and I don't like to do things fast.
No, that's okay. You are very detail oriented. That's why I think you and I need to pair up on something, because what I noticed is some of the people that do the details really well, and I'm a messy drawer, and I try to, okay, I have to finish this, so here we go.
I liked your drawings, and I like how you could do it fast. It just stresses me out, when there's a time limit and you have to do it fast, and I feel anxious. I don't like that. I like to type fast, but when it comes to drawing, I feel literally stressed out, and I don't want to feel that way when I'm drawing.
But anyway, I noticed, this is a totally different topic, but I don't know whether we have any viewers, so I might as well talk about this.
Yeah, we have 2 viewers right now, just so it's common.
Okay. Anyway, what I noticed is that when the people who are really good at the detail stuff that I'm really bad at are doing this, and I'm watching them, they do it almost as if they were a dot matrix printer. You know what I'm saying? They go dot 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 here, and then dot dot dot. It just goes like that. And when I'm drawing, because I don't have a really good spatial idea of how big should I make this, but it's very important for it to be proportionate, right? So if I'm drawing a face, I might start with the eyes or the nose or the mouth, and then I would, draw around that, and so what I'm drawing is trying to figure out the correct shape and the correct proportion and all. But what they're doing is it's like they go from the right hand to the left hand and the left hand to the right hand side of the page, and they're making all the dots. And I don't know how they can do that, because conceptually that it just doesn't work that way for me.
Yeah, I can't do that quickly. When I draw, it takes I drew some pairs and I do need to finish them, but lately, oh gosh, I went away. Hold on. I'm back.
Okay.
Am I? Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, it takes me a few days to get it to where I want it to go. And then I'm kind of having a debate with the drawing. and my sister was watching me. She goes, "Why are you debating with the drawing?" But I'm like erasing, and I'm having a debate. And I feel like I can't even film that ever because nobody would want to see that. It would bore people to tears. And just the fact that people can do that so quickly, like, and get it that detailed so quickly and be stress free about it, that's not me. So I feel like I can present something that looks good, but it's not something that's going to happen right away. So that's all.
Yeah, well, I'm really interested in the different ways that people do it, but there's something about coloring that I never learned. I just never learned how to make it look good. And but I think that maybe you and I can team up long range on one picture, just one picture, and see what
Yeah, that would be fun.
happens. And but the thing about Bob Ross is he was on the one hand, he was sort of helping people with anxiety. So people who had anxiety enjoyed watching it because he would say, "Oh, so we made a mistake. That's okay. We'll make it into a cloud, or we'll make it into a little bird that's flying up above." And he had a very calming kind of way of talking about it. So people who didn't even want to paint would watch it because it made them feel good. And then there were the other people who were just, I felt like they were not creative people. They just wanted to copy his painting.
Yeah, they just wanted to copy his painting, and it's okay. It's that whole thing. They have something similar now, and it's something I have no interest in. I'm sorry if I'm getting us way off topic, but it's called paint and sip. And my sister's like, "Do you want to take one of these classes?" And I don't want to. The reason being is it's kind of like a Bob Ross knockoff where you go to this class and people drink wine and they copy the teacher and paint something. And the whole idea is supposed to be at the end of the class, oh, you have this piece of art you can hang on the wall, but then everybody's just copied somebody. And I don't like that either. And they were doing that at the elementary school too, where they would have this art teacher, but she was kind of like a roving art teacher where she would teach the kids from class to class to class how to copy one of the masters. And I didn't like that either because you're basically just telling the kids to copy what somebody else drew. And I hate that. I don't think it's creative at all.
Right. I mean, it's different if it's like an exercise in perspective or an exercise in color mixing, and everybody does the same thing, but that's not their artwork. That's just learning how to do that one particular thing. But
yeah,
but if you're making an artwork, you should be allowed to use your creativity, and that way nobody's copying anybody.
Yeah, exactly. And I do get that, like in the human life drawing classes, like sometimes you will have people, they're all drawing the same person, but it's a little bit different because everybody's doing it from their own perspective. It's not like a original painting, like I copy this today.
Yeah, no, I mean, what we did, for instance, as a family, you may have seen, I had a video in which I showed the different pictures. So yeah, we were all concentrating on the same subject. If that was the day we paint Chinese people, then each of us painted Chinese or drew Chinese people, but they look completely different, and we never copied from each other, you know?
No, definitely not. Like you each had your own very unique style, which I really liked. I thought that was really cool. I almost felt like, oh, that's kind of like the forerunner of Ping and Our Lady of Kaifeng. Like I could kind of see like, and then you went to go teach in Taiwan. I just thought that was kind of cool. Like it's almost like you were foreshadowing that in a way. Maybe not, but it kind of felt like that.
It felt like that retrospectively. Of course, there was no plan that I would go to Taiwan. That was totally, that was years into the future. And when I started on my PhD, I still didn't know that I was going to end up in Taiwan. If I had known, I would have studied Chinese, which I didn't actually until I got to Taiwan. So, but it's almost as though somehow it was there, that maybe the universe was pushing me that way.
I think sometimes it does, not to sound all mystical, but I think sometimes it's not that you are planning these things, but maybe there's just something that's popping up that's kind of foreshadowing something that may happen. But that sounds kind of mystical. I sound all Drez or something. Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah. So we're going to talk about the Drews tonight on the live stream on my main channel, right?
Yeah, we are. So I've been watching, like, and reading a few things about them, but I think do you have any stories from when you lived in Israel about them, just seeing them locally?
Just the fact that they were allowed to serve in the military, whereas the other local people were not. But I never really understood the difference, so I didn't understand why.
Well, from what I've been reading and the videos I've been watching, not to give too much away, but I think people probably know this if they research a little bit about them. The Druze were an offshoot of a type of Islam. Their leader was considered a heretic. So basically, they were highly persecuted and they became a very ethno-religious group where they only marry within themselves, and they took on other parts of different religions like Hinduism. They even have some Hellenistic characters from Greek mythology as part of their pantheon of like religious leaders. It's very interesting. They're very mystical. And I think that they are very patriotic to the countries they live in, because they realize, well, we're a very persecuted group of people. It's not like we can go somewhere else. So we want to have our beliefs, keep it secret, but we will be patriotic and loyal to the countries we live in.
Okay. Well, between now and this evening, when we talk about it, I will see what I can find out about the Druze. But
Yeah.
right now, do we have any comments, or do we have any more viewers who want to talk about COPPA and the situation with having to decide whether a video is made for kids or not for kids?
At the moment, I'm not seeing anybody, but hopefully maybe some people will leave their comments later and you can address them then.
Okay, well then let's go ahead and sum up what we've been saying, and then we can resume talking about the Druze tonight.
Okay.
So apparently everybody's going to decide that their video is not made for kids. And here's this is my prediction. The people who have family channels will decide that their video is not made for kids, like that family that you shared with me.
Oh yeah, they decided. They have a really logical explanation as how it wasn't too.
Right. So basically the explanation is it's for the parents so that they'll know about this stuff so they can share stuff with their kids. But I think that eventually it will be discovered that either this whole thing was a sham, because basically nobody's going to choose made for kids, or it's going to make all the actual made for kids content leave YouTube and go to a different place where it's not persecuted like this.
That could be the case. I did try to upload some videos on another platform called Daily Motion, where they said you could start monetizing right away. It's based out of France. The only problem with Daily Motion is I just never got the views on any video I posted there. And it could be the exact same video that I post on my other channel. It just doesn't have the same search engine traffic. So my question is, definitely everybody can leave, take their content elsewhere, but where are they going to take it? Because YouTube's the biggest game in town right now.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. What about Baidu? Have you been playing with that at all?
I uploaded things there years ago, but the problem with Baidu is it's in Chinese. I don't think there's a monetization option that I'm aware of. There may be, maybe you're aware of this, but since I don't speak Chinese, I don't really feel like I understand their analytics or how it works.
Here's what I think you could do there if they allow it. And I don't, obviously the Chinese are very strange in many different ways because they don't have freedom of speech. But everybody in China wants to learn how to speak English. And they especially want their small children to learn how to speak English at an early age before they have an accent and all of those things. So if somebody actually had an ambition to teach like nursery rhymes or children's material to an audience of children who may or may not be fluent in English, they could do that. And if there is a monetization option, then that might be monetized. And if that were to be successful, and children in the United States might end up watching Baidu instead of YouTube, because YouTube will have driven all the made for kids content right off the map.
Mm-hmm. That's a possibility. I guess I would have to research and see, is there I see ads on Badu videos, so I'm imagining there is.
Yeah, I think it is monetized. I mean, all I have there is the Chinese version of Theodosia and the Pirates, the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess if you wanted to, you would probably want to have a Chinese speaker team up with you.
Yeah.
And the Chinese speaker would be speaking to the children in Chinese, and then you would be speaking to the children in English, and there might be an audience. And it might not be illegal, it might not be considered bad on that side of the world.
That's the funny thing about China, is America always criticizes China. Like, yes, I know they have some freedom of speech issues, but then in other ways, it seems like they're a little bit more open to the free market economy in some ways. Like, I don't think that they're as bothered by certain issues, as long as you're not criticizing the government, like just.
Right, exactly. As long as it's not political. But if you're just reading nursery rhymes to children, they're not going to be mad at you, and they're not going to say you can't have comments.
The last thing I just want to say about COPPA is, to the people who thought COPPA was so wonderful and such a good change, and that we should have laws that restrict and secure children's privacy that way. Do you think it's American? Do you think that was it's kind of becoming that American media websites are so restrictive that I guess people are going to look to other options.
Yeah, if there's not a wall keeping us out.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's also interesting. I just don't think any of these changes were good, but then I can't complain, because if YouTube's gonna make that change, you just have to figure out where else you would go.
Yeah, everybody's going to work out their own workaround. I am pretty confident that most of my videos are not for kids, and hopefully none of them are.
I don't think yours are. The people I see is kind of hurting the most are the family vloggers, and there's some people that really hate them. And this is the reason, which I think is ridiculous. There's some people that have kids, but they judge other families who put their kids in video, and they think that those families are breaking child labor laws by having their kid on video, and that they're somehow compromising that child's privacy, even though maybe that child enjoys being in those vlogs and doesn't consider that work. But there's other families that are trying to restrict how other families live their lives. That's basically what it is.
But you know who I'm thinking about? The squishy girl, the girl who people send her squishies to redo. Mm-hmm. Well, she might be over 13. I think she is. She might be under 18, but over 13. Don't you think some of her viewers might be under 13?
Of course they are, because when you have a teenager, you're going to have young kids that are watching you, and that's going to hurt her search engine traffic. But, the gods and the universe of courts and families who want to be having the nanny state, they think that these changes are good. They don't like young entrepreneurs. They don't like creative people. That's my opinion. They don't really like anybody that wants to be creative, I think.
Well, yeah, I think Disney wants everybody who is creative to work for them, and for there not to be any creatives outside of there. But that brings me back to Yellow and Brooke, thinking, nowadays, artists, composers, people who draw, people who sculpt, people who write songs, all of these people are making more money than they ever did. But, that's not all of us. Many of us are on our own.
Yeah, that's not everybody, but that's just kind of his take on it. And not everybody's going to make more money. And then there's also this other group that's like, well, if you're creative, you should just do it for free. You shouldn't want to make any money. You should just do that for free. Your time doesn't mean anything. You should just post content for free. and I hate to say it, but there's nothing wrong with money, because people do need money to live. They need money to survive, unless you're living in a privileged little bubble where you tell a homeless person that they don't need money and that money is evil, they're gonna laugh in your face because they just want to have food to eat.
Yeah.
It's only very privileged people that have the ability to say that, because they don't need to worry about any of that.
Right.
And it's very, very fantasy land. I don't know, but maybe I'm getting off topic.
No. You're totally on topic. I think that's the real topic. That is the real dope about why we have this thing. It has nothing to do with protecting children, but it is a way of attacking artists and teachers who actually want their audience to be children.
Yeah, and I've never had anything against Disney. I thought, there are some Disney characters that are fun and cute, but then again, I feel like, is this like telling everybody that if you're not watching Disney and you're not part of Disney, that you're just not somehow as valid? That's another impression I'm getting now from this.
Well, it's kind of like if you have something that you want to pitch to children, pitch it to Disney because they have a monopoly on being allowed to address children.
Okay, yay, we let one conglomerate, one corporation have the whole say. But anyway, I guess I'll just leave it at that. There are other options besides YouTube. If you are a creator for kids, maybe you should explore those other options, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely. And for now, nothing we do is going to be declared for children. And if any children do happen to watch it, just don't tell anyone, kids.
Yeah, and another thing too is that's what's going to happen at the end of the day. You think kids are stupid? Like, hello, they know how to use technology better than their parents. They're just going to say they're over 18. So you can have all the legislation you want at the end of the day, but do you think that's going to keep some little teenage boy off his iPhone from watching videos he's not supposed to watch? No, because that's the parents' problem, not ours.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I guess we really did cover all the bases on this, don't you think?
I think so. But I think it was a good topic that you wanted to address. So thank you for bringing this to light.
Okay, well, thanks for talking to me about it, Julia, and I'll see you tonight when we talk about the Druze people.
Definitely. Have a good night or afternoon.
Yes, I'll see you later, just a little bit later today. And Bo says hi too.
Bye, Bo and Aya.